Welcome to the Ultimate Insurance Agency Podcast, Planet of the Agents. Planet of the Agents. Where we give you the...
Hello, my fellow insurance professionals out there, and welcome to the year 2025. Can you believe that it's already time to say goodbye to 2024 and all of the fun that you've been having in property and casualty insurance? I can barely believe it myself. Now, before I get started in today's exciting episode with all of the cool things coming in 2025 and some ideas I'd like to share with you, I just want to remind you that you can reach out to me at planetoftheagents.com. You can also go there to join the newsletter, and you can get access to the agency resources section, which is actually now going to be featured on a dedicated site, which I think is awesome because I've added lots of new templates that you can use to email people. We've got some scripts you can use for calling. More of those are coming. Lots of talking points and informative information that you can use yourself or that your staff can use or your team or whoever works with you. And a lot of it is directly related to questions that I commonly receive. And they're talking points for you to talk to a consumer, whether it's explaining things or sales strategies or ways to talk to people. Again, that is planetoftheagents.com. Now, a lot of you told me that you did not have the most enjoyable year in 2024. Now, some of you were not specifically talking about insurance, which I appreciate you sharing your stories with me. And, we all go through things in life, and we all go through things in business. But remember this important line that I get from a rock song that I like. It's how we survive that makes us who we are. Now, you made it through 2024. So let's start talking about 2025. The key things that I think we are probably going to see this year are, number one, difficulty in property insurance. Now, I'm talking about both commercial property and I'm talking about residential property. So we could be talking about homeowners insurance. You can be talking about apartment complexes, all kinds of things. I actually asked some underwriters if they had noticed a lot of claims because obviously we're seeing prices go up across the board. There are lots of reasons for that. And many of you have been around long enough to know many of the talking points you can use with your customers as to why prices are increasing. Obviously, if an insurance company is paying out more money, generally speaking, they're going to need to increase the prices to stay solvent, right? It seems very simple. There are other factors at play that are more complex, like interest rates and bonds and financial factors that are different from inflation and the cost of simply paying out claims. You've got your labor costs, which for those of you who have employees or some kind of staff are probably noticing more and more. I would say that in 2023 and 2024, I saw very significant increases in labor costs, and that's something that I have heard many people talk to me about. Dare I say, complain to me. It happens. I understand. I know you all need to vent, and I'm happy to be here for you. That's why I have a link on planetoftheagents.com where you can contact me and share your story. If you do write to me and you want me to talk about something on the show, make sure to include that note. I'm happy to do that. Now, item number 2 is going to be auto insurance. Personal lines auto insurance, I rarely hear someone tell me they saw a rate decrease, although I have actually heard some good news from people. But I can tell you in terms of my own personal insurance, because I buy insurance, I'm a consumer, just like most of you are, who are property and casualty insurance agents or wholesalers or MGAs or whatever you do. You likely buy insurance as well, and you're probably seeing increases yourself. In fact, on one of my policies, I saw the premium go from $1,000 to $2,700 with no claims, since I know you're going to ask about that. And I saw that increase over what period? I would say it was from 2021 to 2024. So that's a 170% increase in premium. Ouch. I will tell you, I did remarket it, or reshop it, whatever you want to call it. I did check some other carriers, but I do value the, shall I say, quality of a carrier or what I expect from a certain carrier. And for that reason, I'm actually willing to pay more to be with a certain carrier. And I think many of us who work in insurance actually feel that way. But that doesn't mean the consumer, your client, feels that way. But you do have the option to explain to them why you love a certain carrier and their claims handling. And then you also have the option, of course, to reshop them if possible. Now, in the beginning of 2025, we saw some tragedies in the California homeowners insurance market, and obviously tragedies for the people involved in the fires. I hope that they're all okay and that everything works out well for them. But that is not going to make things any easier. Now, I do touch on California a bit in this podcast, specifically because a large percentage of insurance is actually sold in California. It's simply a question of population, right? For example, now don't quote me on this. This is not an exact percentage, but I have read somewhere at some point that 13% of the auto insurance premiums in America come from California. Now, I know there are other states that are constantly struggling with insurance. The Florida property market's not easy. North Carolina has its issues. There are issues all around. But what I want you to focus on and what I'm focusing on is the solutions, okay? You can talk about all the problems you want, but what if you redirect your energy to solutions? And sometimes the solution is not actually what you expect, and it might require you to make a life change. And you know what? That's not the end of the world. I have had to, well, for those of you who know me personally, you know about things I have had to deal with in my own life in terms of unexpected changes in the past few years. And it took me a second to remind myself that, that which does not kill us will make us stronger. Or as I quoted earlier from the rock lyrics, it's how we survive that makes us who we are. So what am I talking about here? Let's talk about this in terms of insurance. Don't worry, this is not a podcast about my life. And even though 2024 was not, how should I say, as enjoyable as many of the other years I spent in insurance, and I'm approaching 21 years in insurance, I will say that I came up with some good ideas, and they have helped me shift the focus of where I think I'm going to do marketing, where I think I'm going to try to improve things, and where I might have to let a few things go by the wayside. It happens. It's tough, but it happens. So let's talk about some of the solutions. Now, first of all, if you are struggling to deal with property insurance, and let's specifically talk about personal lines insurance, meaning homeowners insurance, dwelling fire, your landlord policies, the condo market. Oh my gosh, I hear so many things about condos. Renters seem to be okay. I haven't heard a lot of complaints about renters, although I have definitely seen rates. I'm laughing right now because I'm just thinking of a quote that I saw where someone said, "Hey, is this a good deal?" And I said, "Well, it's $400 a year." And I'm thinking back to when it was, $75 or $100 a year. Like, well, I mean, it's all relative. Good as compared to what, right? So, what can you do in the homeowners market? Well, first of all, you have a few options. If you have carriers that are writing where you need to write, it's going to be easier. I know some of you don't even know about the problems people are experiencing in other states, but I can tell you in Nevada, in Arizona, in Idaho, obviously California, the Gulf Coast, the Eastern Seaboard, Cape May, New Jersey, across the board, I'm hearing all kinds of things, and I'm seeing rates. It's not something that I'm not seeing. So what can you do? Well, first of all, you could reshop it with the carriers you have. The next option is if you have to, and this is something you're okay with, you can join some kind of network or cluster where you might get more appointments or more access to more markets. I know there's some of you who built your whole business that way, and I know there's some of you who are opposed to doing business like that. I understand. There is a pride in owning your entire business. Now, you do have choices in those groups. Sometimes you have to give up ownership. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you're just accessing markets for a reduced commission. It's not necessarily the end of the world. In fact, sometimes I think you can actually get the full commission up to a certain point, and maybe they just have some other type of agreement. So that's not always a negative. And if you have to do it, you have to do it. Okie dokie. It's not the end of the world. The next option, of course, is going to be your surplus lines market. I know. Oh, the stories about filling out the applications. I hear about it all the time. I understand you don't have a passion for paperwork. It's not necessarily online rating. It's not the easiest way to do things. It's not the most enjoyable, but sometimes you have to go that route too. Now, does that mean you'll have to keep the person in that market forever? No, some of your carriers might come back. Now, I will say that when I attended multiple conventions last year, and I think last year I attended more conventions than I could remember, I didn't hear a lot of positivity from the homeowners carriers. I've heard some say it could be years before they come back. Some said they're trying to navigate the ever-changing market and the cost of lumber and the cost of repairs and all those things. So I don't know where that's going. One more touch on personal lines. Let's talk about auto insurance for a moment. I think a lot of people have enough auto insurance markets, but that doesn't mean you're going to be able to find something that is priced in a way the customer will be happy. Now, notice I didn't say it has a good price or is low price or is competitive. What I said was the consumer, your client, your customer might not be happy, but that's where you'll need to explain what's going on. But listen, there's a risk they're going to shop it. Yes. The easiest thing that I think there is right now to shop on the internet is auto insurance. Although I do want to tell you, I was talking to someone who told me that this insurtech company or this online agency, however you want to word it, it's not actually an insurtech, I guess, by some definition, because they don't have their own policy or program. I asked them how they're doing, and this representative told me, oh, this one company who advertises online and they have these forms and all this digital stuff. He said they are producing so many applications a month. It's amazing. And I said, wow, do you have some kind of special API or connection for them where they can bind online or they can allow the consumer to just go through their website? And he said to me, surprisingly, no. I said, well, wait, how are they one of your biggest agencies? He said, no, they have humans working the phones and humans completing the process. And that really surprised me. But it also made me happy because the reality is most of us don't have the capital or money that's required to build a tech company that can have these interfaces. I will say that you might be surprised. There are some situations where the cost won't be high, where it will not be cost prohibitive, but you would need enough marketing to drive traffic to your website to make it valuable. The auto insurance market, while not my focus on this podcast, I usually focus on talking to people about commercial more lately than ever. I've been doing this for years, and now it's becoming more obvious to me that commercial is the future. So that's the segue into the next option. Let's say you are having a terrible time because you don't have any carriers and you have business dropping off. You can't compete, whether you can't compete because you don't have people working around the clock, you don't have an internet service, you just don't have enough carriers. Listen, it happens. I hear a lot of people say, "Oh my gosh, my client lost their homeowners insurance. I don't have anywhere to place them." And I say to them, "Do you literally mean you don't have anywhere to place them, or are you just saying you can't get them a quote that's similar to what they used to be paying?" And they'll say to me, "No, Dave, I don't have a market. I can't get them a quote, or there's some kind of binding restriction where it takes weeks to get a quote back." That's very interesting, but it's not enjoyable. And I ask myself this question, since I've been hearing this get worse and worse over the years. I ask this important question. How long can you go on dealing with that? How long can you go on worrying about that? This is where we segue again into commercial insurance. Business insurance, commercial insurance, your general liability, your E&O insurance, your professional liability insurance, inland marine, ocean marine. You have so many options. Environmental liability, A&R insurance, meaning kidnap and ransom. You have so many different things. You have mortgage bonds or mortgage brokers bonds, different financial forms that you can sell. Now, those are crime insurance policies in some cases. They're not related to you being in the mortgage industry. That's for your customers who run mortgage bankers or mortgage brokerages. There are so many options, and I feel like it's actually less competitive in many ways. And for those of you who have another 20 years left, this might be a great option. Now, you might say to me, "Dave, I don't have any commercial customers." But hold on a second. You do have personal lines customers. And there is a good chance many of your customers own businesses. They could be very small businesses. They could just be a one-person landscaping business. It could be someone who installs low voltage lighting. It could be someone who hangs televisions. It could be a contractor. It could be an office. I think you'll be surprised if you've never asked your customers what they do for a living and do they own a business. Now, once you start there, you might find out you have a huge untapped opportunity. Now, if you have no commercial carriers at all, well, you might need to go through a wholesaler. And if you're going to do harder to place insurance, you'll probably need to go through a wholesaler or a surplus lines broker. But there's nothing wrong with that. It's different in commercial because you have so many surplus lines products these days. It's very interesting, the opportunity. There are also program managers out there who are going to have programs for specific businesses. But the key thing I want to reiterate is that you have opportunity from your personal lines customers. There's also surety bonds. Don't forget about those. Now I'm going to do a shameless little plug here. If you do need access to commercial quotes, to surety bonds, whether it's general liability, some online quoting and binding, and different options, you can certainly go to yesbaker.com. That's YESBAKER.com. And you can sign up as a new producer where you will get lots of different options available to you. And it's very easy and it's quite modern. So I just want to throw that in there for those of you who are looking to get into commercial or need more access. Additionally, now this is going to be a bold step. You could actually do some kind of marketing. That doesn't mean that you have to spend money on online digital advertising. It doesn't mean you have to spend money on brochures. You can do this thing that people have been doing for ages in sales, back to the days of Zig Ziglar and other types of people. You could cold call people. You could reach out to some kinds of groups. Also, speaking of groups, I know some of you write health insurance for groups. Have you asked them about their other policies? I think you will be shocked and surprised at how many people would be interested in talking to you, especially if you're already writing their health insurance. I have not dabbled in that for a very long time, but I do know that health insurance agents and brokers out there, you do have your customer base, and that's a great opportunity. Additionally, when you're talking to people about their business, if you have their personal auto, why don't you have their commercial auto? I recently went to dinner with a friend and his lady friend, and she said to me, "Dave, do you know why you're good at insurance?" That just came out of nowhere, by the way. It was a compliment. I was very appreciative. I said, "Why do you say that?" And she said, "Because you ask everybody. You ask everybody what they do. You ask them if you can help them. You ask them about getting quotes. I've never seen anybody do that before." And I said, "Oh, thank you. That's a compliment." She said, "That's the difference between you and the other people I've actually bought from." She had to seek them out as opposed to having someone proactively ask her. So remember that word as a takeaway from this episode of the show. Be proactive. Step outside the box. You can try something new. Listen, I understand if you've been doing the same thing for 20, 30, 40, or maybe some of you for 50 years, well, you might have to try something new. I know it might not be your favorite thing. Now, if you've built a book up over 30 or 40 or 50 years, I'm thinking you might be able to retire. I don't know. I do want to hear some opinions on that. Feel free to contact me. I'd actually like to hear about that. But there are so many opportunities in commercial insurance, and you might have to do that right now. In fact, you might actually find out you love it. I actually think it's easier to get some types of quotes, and it's not so competitive. For example, think about car insurance. You could have two customers in the same zip code on the same street and have two totally different quotes, even though they drive the same car and have the same situation. It could be a single person, unmarried, advanced purchase discount. There's all these different factors that apply, and they could literally get different quotes. Now, in commercial, you might find that that's not true. Say you have two people that are, let's just pick something here, have a 500 square foot office for an accountant, and you get two quotes and they're one block apart and they're the same. It's different. It's different. Now, obviously, coverages matter. I'm just using a hypothetical example, but I think that you get the idea. So in 2025, I want you to look forward. I'm super excited right now. I'm feeling really pumped and really good about all the opportunity in front of us. Well, one more thing I was thinking, if for any of you who rent commercial space, why not ask your landlord if you can be the go-to contact for the tenants that need general liability insurance or business income coverage or a BOP policy, right? A business owner's policy. By the way, I know I say BOP policy like people say PIN number, even though the word policy is in BOP and the word number is in PIN. But old habits are not always the easiest to break, of course. Additionally, don't forget to ask about special event insurance anytime you see a venue. That's one I wanted to mention earlier. I have had quite a few requests for special event insurance. I actually just got a really interesting one. And if it goes through, I'll try to remember to share what it is. I'm not going to talk about the quote I'm doing right now, but it's pretty interesting. There's so many special events out there. The opportunity is massive. Okay, so this is our first episode of the year 2025 for Planet of the Agents. I am your host, Dave Baker, and it has been my pleasure to be with you for many years, and I look forward to making many more episodes this year and talking about the things that you want me to talk about. So please do send me an email on planetoftheagents.com. Click the contact button. I want to hear from you. I want to share what I've learned. I remember, I don't know, I can't even remember what year it was. I heard someone when I was younger say the highest level of learning is teaching. I've read that many times since I first heard that, but that stuck with me when a teacher said it to me when I was much younger. So if I can teach something or share my own experiences so that you can learn from my experiences rather than learning from your others, then that would make me so happy. All right, everybody, I can't wait to see you in the next episode. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Planet of the Agents. Don't forget, you can watch me on YouTube. Sometimes I have audio episodes, and sometimes I do have video episodes. If you'd like to see more video episodes, let me know. I understand that you're probably not sitting around in the afternoon or in the evening after work thinking, gosh, I want to turn on YouTube and watch insurance videos. But if you do, and there are enough of you, I will do more video episodes rather than just the audio versions. But if you need to listen at work and you can only listen on YouTube, we do have these uploaded to YouTube. Simply go to planetoftheagents.com and click the YouTube channel. I will talk to you all soon, everybody. Take care. Get out there. Keep growing. Keep binding. Keep retaining customers. And now be proactive.
Thanks for listening to Planet of the Agents. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss a single episode. And head over to our website at planetoftheagents.com to sign up for our newsletter and get even more information on how to grow your insurance agency.